Good evening. Prince Philip, the Duke of Edinburgh, was passionate about the welfare of young people, an advocate for the environment and wildlife, and he was a born leader who, even though he had no constitutional power, was the monarchy's rock throughout the Queen's 68 years on the throne. Across Australia, flags were flown at half-mast to mourn the death of the Duke of Edinburgh last night, a sign of respect to the royal consort who visited the country more than 20 times. While in the UK, thousands of mourners flocked to Buckingham Palace and Windsor Castle, leaving flowers and notes of affection for a man known for his no-nonsense approach. Well, joining us now from outside Windsor Castle is our chief international correspondent, Ben Lewis. Ben, good evening. Emotions must still be quite raw as Britain wakes up this morning.
I know, it's just so windy.
Good evening, Anton. Absolutely. And the thoughts of most today, of course, will be with the Queen. She has now begun an official period of mourning, and during that time she will not be required to carry out the normal duties of a head of state. We know that last night Prince Charles drove from his Highgrove estate here to Windsor Castle to spend some time with his mother. It has often been said that Prince Philip didn't want much of a fuss when he passed. Well, some level of fuss was always going to be inevitable because of his high-profile role in public life for so long and because of the esteem in which he was held by so many.
Flags at half-mast. The tolling of bells, and a notice at palace gates marking the death of Britain's longest-serving royal consort, husband to the Queen for 73 years.
Like the expert carriage driver that he was, he helped to steer the royal family and the monarchy so that it remains an institution indisputably vital to the balance and happiness of our national life.
At Windsor Castle, where Prince Philip spent his final weeks after being discharged from hospital, locals paid tribute to a man born on a Greek island who had dedicated his life to his adopted country.
Prince Philip's always been there. He's a stalwart, isn't he? And his service to the country, to the Queen and the rest of us, yeah, it's got to be done, hasn't it?
I feel kind of sad because he was always there for the Queen and by her side, so if she got got hurt or anything, he would always be there.
In London, hundreds left flowers outside Buckingham Palace, the feeling one of gratitude for the Duke's decades of service.
Deep sadness, not shock. He's 99 years old, he's been in hospital, but deep sadness. He's been a great man and the consort to our Queen for all my life.
Australian Melissa Trickey was at nearby Westminster Abbey when the news broke.
And it felt really significant, like standing there where they got married so many years ago. I'm sure that Prince Philip and I would not see eye to eye on many things, but I think I'm here because of the Queen, and I think about if I lost my husband, because I've only been with my husband 6 years, if I'd been with him for that long, my heart breaks for her.
This moment does present somewhat of a dilemma for police. Lockdown laws are still in place in England, and normally a gathering of this size would attract fines. But for now, officers are simply asking people to pay their respects and move on.
Palace officials later urging people to stay away from royal residences for their own well-being. The Duke of Edinburgh will not have a state funeral and will not lie in state, in line with his wishes. Instead, he will lie in rest in Windsor Castle before a royal ceremonial funeral at St George's Chapel on the castle grounds. The low-key send-off he had requested will be even more private because of coronavirus. Those who knew him will remember him as a man often ahead of his time, particularly on matters of conservation, and as a moderniser of the monarchy.
I think he leaves a legacy of imagination, of entrepreneurialism, of saying, I will not accept that things need to go downhill. I will not accept that things need to be bad. We can be profoundly ambitious.
Until his retirement in 2017, he carried out more than 22,000 solo public engagements and made more than a few gaffes.
Where did you come from, Roger? Philippines. she's also half empty. They're all here, running the NHS.
But palace staff don't think he set out to offend.
I think he was more of an extrovert, and I think he genuinely enjoyed meeting people. He had a very good, if wicked, sense of humour, and it actually helps to put people at their ease.
Philip had no constitutional role, but believed his greatest duty was to support his wife and therefore the institution she represents.
The main lesson that we've learnt is that tolerance is the one essential ingredient of any happy marriage. It may not be quite so important when things are going well, but it is absolutely vital when things get difficult. And you can take it from me that the Queen has the quality of tolerance and abundance.
Always walking a few paces behind the Queen, they raised 4 children in the most abnormal of circumstances.
His energy was astonishing in supporting my mama and doing it for such a long time, and in some extraordinary way, being able to go on doing it for so long. What he's done has amounted to an astonishing achievement, I think.
It was always a challenging role to take, but he's done it with the most extraordinary flair and an extraordinary tact and diplomacy. He's never, ever tried to overshadow the Queen in any way, shape or form. And I think he's always been there as that rock in the Queen's life.
And certainly within his family, that was exactly the same.
An extraordinary partnership vital to the success of her reign.
He is someone who doesn't take easily to compliments. He has quite simply been my strength and stay all these years. And I and his whole family, and this and many other countries, owe him a debt greater than he would ever claim, or we shall ever know.
So, Ben, what happens now? What do we know about the funeral arrangements?
Well, Anton, the plans for Prince Philip's funeral had been set many, many years ago, as is the case with all senior royals, but of course changes have had to be made because of coronavirus. It will be scaled down and there will be no public involvement. For example, there will be no procession in central London. We know it's going to be held inside the walls of Windsor Castle. What we don't know is exactly which day it will be taking place. We understand that the Queen is meeting with her senior advisors this morning to make that decision, and it will be revealed to the public a few hours after that.
And Ben, given recent revelations, do you think we will be seeing Prince Harry and Meghan Markle returning to Buckingham Palace?
Do we have time to do the second answer again?
Well, we're likely to see at least one of them. Despite that well-publicised royal rift, it is thought that Prince Harry will be flying back to the United Kingdom from California. He was very close with his grandfather, and of course they had that common history of military service. It is unlikely that his wife Meghan will be travelling given her pregnancy at the moment, but the Duke and Duchess of Sussex did leave a tribute to Prince Philip on their website when he passed, praising his life of service. Anton, I'll be back from Windsor Castle a little bit later with more details of the tributes planned over the next 24 hours to the Duke of Edinburgh.
Thanks, Ben. That is our chief international correspondent, Ben Lewis, reporting from the UK.